Hello, I welcome all of you to this course of engineering graphics. In this lecture, we will see perspective projection of a cube. The question is, a cube of 25 mm side is placed vertically with one of its edges on the picture plane and the top square end face touching an auxiliary ground plane at a height of 45 mm above the horizon plane. The vertical edge formed by the two adjacent rectangular faces which are inclined 45 degrees to the picture plane touches the picture plane. Draw the perspective view of the cube if the station point is 70 mm in front of the picture plane and lies in a central plane which is 30 mm to the right of the center of the cube. So here the object is a cube of 25 mm side, and it is resting in such a way that its top face, it is given that its cube, the top face of the cube is touching an auxiliary ground plane, and it is at a distance of 45 mm above the horizon plane. So since the top face is touching the auxiliary ground plane, that means the object is hanging from the auxiliary ground plane downwards, and from the auxiliary ground plane, the horizon plane is at a distance of 45 mm below. That means from the horizon plane, auxiliary ground plane is 45 mm above, or from auxiliary ground plane, horizon plane is, or horizon plane means the station point. Observer's eye is 45 mm below the horizon plane. Now also it is given that the cube vertical edge is touching the picture plane, and it is inclined 45 degrees to the picture plane. uh, Station point, it is also given that station point is 70 mm in front of the picture plane, and also it lies in a central plane which is 30 mm to the right of the center of the cube. That means the station point is 30 mm to the right side of the center of the cube, then 70 mm in front of the picture plane, and also 45 mm below the ground plane. So since the horizon plane is since the auxiliary ground plane is 45 mm above the horizon plane or observer's eye is 45 mm below the ground plane. So these are the observations. Now we will see how to draw the perspective projection. First we have to draw the front top view. So since it's a cube of 25 mm edge, you can draw, and also it is given that one edge is touching the picture plane. So you draw the picture plane, and AE is the edge which touches the picture plane. Also these nearby faces are inclined 45 degrees. So you can draw a cube like this, a square. The top view will be a square of 25 mm with these two faces inclined 45 degrees. You can draw one line at 45 degrees at 25 mm, then you can complete that square. This is the top view of the cube. Then you can drop all the points to the ground plane, auxiliary ground plane like this. Okay, now it is not the ground plane but is an auxiliary ground plane, and the object, the top face is touching the auxiliary ground plane. That means the object is hanging downwards like this, not above. It is not resting on the auxiliary ground plane, but it is hanging downwards because top face is touching the auxiliary ground plane. That means the object front view will be like this, not above. It will be below like this. So B, here in this case, B, A, B, C, D are the top points, and E, F, G, H are the bottom points. So you can see here in front view, this A, B, C, D will be the points marked. A, B, C, D are the points which is touching the auxiliary ground plane, whereas other points E, F, G, H are the bottom points that you can see in front view. You can see that as marked here. So one thing is that you have to draw the auxiliary ground plane, and object is hanging downwards, not upwards. Okay, now then we have to draw the center plane. It is given that, I mean, station point, to mark the station point, it is given that the station point is 30 mm to the right. So from this geometrical center of the object, you mark 30 mm towards right, then draw a line. Then it's also given that the station point is 75 mm in front of the picture plane, so you can mark the 75 mm in front of the picture plane. And also it is given that the auxiliary ground plane is 45 mm above the horizon plane. That means station point is 45 mm below the auxiliary ground plane. So auxiliary ground plane is below, object is hanging like this. So from here the observer is observing the object. Now after drawing the front view and top view and station point, front view and top view, we just connect all these corners like this in top view and front view to get the top view and front view of the rays of vision. Just connect SP to the top view and SP dash to the front view. Now after drawing those rays of vision, you will get the piercing points here, 2 points here, 2 points here, 2 points here, and 2 points here. Then you drop that to the corresponding line. Then you will get certain points. You mark it as A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H like this. Just this is for B and F, so you are dropping that to B and F. Same way, this is A and E, so A and E will be same line. Then you have, this is for C and G, so you will get C and G here, and this is for D and H, so D and H. Now in this case you have to you should know that the object is the station point is in front and below. Okay, station point is in front and below the object. So this is the top view of the station point. From here, if the observer is observing the object, you can easily understand that C and G will be, because these are two extremes. If he is observing from here, this point and these points are two extremes. So that means the other the point which is behind that will be invisible. So these 3 points will be, or 6 points will be visible. Now these 2 points will be 1 point will be invisible. Now since the object is since the station point is below the object, that means bottom face will be visible, or that means G will be visible. So okay, you can see in this diagram G is the bottom point and C is the top point. So since in front view station point is below the object, that means in this diagram you see G is the below, the point which is below, and C is the point which is above. That means C will be invisible because the station point is below. Okay, below the object, station point is below the object. That means bottom face will be visible and top face will be invisible. Some points will be invisible. So in that G, the point top face, the point will be C. So C will be invisible. So you are marking C as C as in hidden point, and the line CB, CD and CG will be invisible. Then you draw, also you mark the axis of the object. Then you will get the perspective projection. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture.